Okay, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the After Movie Diner, and this is an incredibly exciting episode. It's one of our on-tour episodes because your trusty host, me, has flown back to the U of K, and I'm sat in England, in Muswell Hill, in the great capital, London, with my oldest, dearest and bestest friend who started this journey of the After Movie Diner with me, those many years ago. It is indeed Monsignor Jon Wallace. Hello, sir, and welcome back.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, here we are.
Lovely to be here.
Here.
And not
the previous pub.
So we went for... there's a pub across the road from the cinema.
We went to the Phoenix in East Finchley.
The Phoenix Cinema in East Finchley,
which Mark Commode listeners will know is Commode's favourite, like, left back.
Yeah.
Hanging around and greasing his hair up cinema.
Absolutely. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're good.
I'm gonna get a Farmer John, please.
Farmer John, sure.
And can I get an order of fries with that?
It already comes with fries.
Oh, it comes with fries.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Would you like some more?
No, that's fine. Thanks. Cool. And can I get a sparkling water, please?
Yeah, small bottle is fine.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, my friend. Can I get the buttermilk fried chicken?
I'm afraid we don't have buttermilk chicken tonight. I'm very sorry.
Oh, you're kidding me. All right, okay, hang on a check then.
Sorry, I'm sure I told you that. From
No. So do you have what do you have on this bill?
So basically everything except from the buttermilk chicken.
Except for the one thing
and the whole tray.
Okay.
Damn it.
Oh well, I'll go for the hog and chook combo then.
Yeah.
You still do the chicken breast?
Right.
Not like you're getting the blazing saddle?
No. This is my first time here. I don't live here. I've come over from America.
Some fried chicken.
Yeah.
We basically, because one of our fires is broken.
Okay.
And it takes a long time. It takes about 15 minutes to fry it. So we're just not doing it.
Understood. No, that makes
But
sense. I'm happy
the
with
meat
the
that
hog and
comes in
chook.
that you can do. It's just a piece of blazing buttermilk chicken.
No, I'm good with the hog and chook.
Yeah, you sure?
That's fine. Yeah, the hog and chook's great.
For the chicken in the combo, you're allowed to choose between lemon and herb, buffalo, barbecue sauce.
Ooh, well, if it's having it with ribs, I'll have the barbecue.
Cool.
And I will have a chocolate brownie shake, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Do you know what? I'm going to change my drink order. I'm going to get one of those as well. Shakes, yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Lovely, jubbly. All right.
So here serves food.
Yeah.
I'm not really wanted off soup for that.
No,
but,
fine. It serves chicken and pork, which is what we want.
But the pub we went to, so we went to the Phoenix Cinema in Finchley, which is fabulous, old, sort of very beautiful.
Oh, yes, beautiful, great surroundings.
And it was, because it was a Tuesday night, it was nice and half empty, which is always a pleasure.
Yeah. Also, because John has to get up and go to the bathroom every 15 minutes.
Roughly every 15 minutes, which I apologise for.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But that's
because they have a really nifty thing at the Phoenix where there is a toilet in the room. In the corner.
Yeah, which is
so
amazing.
You could just like nip off and.
So you can just nip into the corner. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in the whole
toilet
situation. Although to be honest, it's fabulous. So then we crossed the road to go to the pub, a lovely pub, which we go to regularly here.
Yeah.
And
we had a couple of drinks in before
we had a couple of drinks before we went in. And we sit down and pick up a menu, and for the first time in my life, I can genuinely say
nothing
that I would have eaten nothing there, and I could only understand about a quarter of what was even listed there.
Yeah, I mean, I would go less than that.
Yeah,
I probably understood about, I don't know, 1/8.
Yeah, it was all a roulade on a bed of shaved
arugula kale with endives and some sliced olives and it was all.
Endives is the kind of word we're dealing with.
It was all meat and fish you've never fucking heard of, served in a way you've never heard.
It's all the stuff that you go along to the supermarket when you have a recipe, and you say, "Do you have this?" and they look at you like you're scum.
Yeah,
and deservedly so.
Deservedly so. It was like cannellini beans.
Yeah, it was where the scum go to eat.
It was. It might as well have been
anyone
ostrich,
who would pay 15 quid
for ostrich beaks glazed in Gucci berries or some bullshit. I mean, it was like they'd taken some hipsters, added a dose of pretension, and then disappointed them with misery and despair.
Yeah, it was super rubbish.
Yeah, it was awful. And it was really embarrassing as well because we walked right to the end of the restaurant. It's this really nice, like, romantic atmosphere.
Beautiful restaurant.
As I walked along, I annoyed a woman taking off her coat. I hadn't even been in there 30 seconds. I'm already annoying people.
How did you annoy her?
I don't know. She
Did
just
you
looked
nudge
up
her?
at me and like tutted loudly as I walked past. And I went, "I'm sorry." She literally looked up at me with a look of utter disgust. Like, as I'd walked past, I'd wiped my rectum along the tablecloth, you know. Which I might as well have done.
Yeah, but we literally sat down and I scanned it. I just went scan.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't eat this.
And
I can't eat any of it.
And it shocked me because if people don't know, because we've never done one where you eat before, but John can literally eat anything.
I will eat anything
He
as
will
long
put
as I
anything
can
in.
understand what it is.
Yeah, as long as it's actually food, and as long as it's based within the 5 major food groups.
Yeah. If you
Sorry, they're making a shake at the moment with what sounds like a nuclear-powered drill.
yeah. So yeah, that was no good. So we sallied forth,
Yeah, to Muswell
went
Hill.
up
To
the
Muswell
Forces
Hill.
Green Road and came back to Chooks in Muswell Hill, which is where me and Hamble go for comfort food.
Yeah,
So this should be much better.
yeah. And unfortunately, they did not have the buttermilk fried chicken, which I have to say is a passion of mine. I do a bit like a buttermilk fried chicken. However, they are doing me some ribs and chicken, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I'm
good.
going to be happy with that.
Good.
Because it's greasy meat on a plate with some fries. That'll do me. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to have a big chocolate shake. And I'm going to go home and fart my way through a conversation.
Excellent. Good. Yeah.
So, within contrast to this very kind of wholesome, basic, all-American meal that we're about to sit down and eat in North London, in like the bed of, I don't know, rich hipsterdom that we seem to have washed ourselves up in, we watched a movie, that was absolutely as wonderful as it was utterly perplexing and mad.
Yeah.
Which was called,
It was called The Lobster, which is directed by someone I've never heard of.
it was directed by, I am from the Ukraine.
I'm from a dark place, is where it's from. So it's called The Lobster. It's got everyone in it.
Yes.
Absolutely everyone. So it's got...
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. Look at that. Thank you.
very much. It's got Colin Farrell. It's
Colin
got
Farrell, yeah.
John C. Reilly. It's got
Ben Whishaw,
Ben Whishaw.
who
It's
plays
got-
Q.
Yeah, it's got a girl who I recognise from
Olivia-
Hannah, the
Olivia-
movie Hannah, who was she played a young girl in the movie Hannah. She befriends Hannah. She was the one who got with Whishaw. It's got
Olivia Colman from
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz. Who else has got in it? Some foreign bird who I recognise, but I can't remember her name.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so all-star cast, and basically the story is, such as it is.
I knew nothing about it going in. Absolutely.
Right, so I had read the outline of it, which is basically that it's a surreal movie where, in another world, if you find yourself single, you are sent to a hotel where you are put through a grueling coupling almost initiation.
Yeah.
And if you fail to find a partner
Within 70 days.
40 days or something like that, you are turned into the animal of your choice.
Yeah.
This is the setup for it. This is actually the setup for it. And Colin Farrell, you open up the movie with... Well, actually, you open up the movie with a woman executing a donkey.
Yeah.
That's what actually opened the film. Which
But
was,
the- but
and
that's
did we ever
because-
see her again?
Yeah, she's the heartless one.
Oh, she's the heartless one.
Okay.
Was she the heartless one?
She was the heartless one. Yeah, definitely,
right.
definitely. So, before we go into our synopsis and analysis, what Jim and I like to do now on the show, and we should continue the trend here, is to say beforehand, should people see it? Meaning, we will spoil it, obviously. Thank you very much. Because we're going to talk all about it. So we will probably spoil some bits in it. So if people are worried about spoilers, should they see it before we talk about it, or do we not recommend it and therefore we can just go ahead and spoil it? Doesn't matter.
Well, I think they definitely should see it. But whether they'll be able to see it, I don't know what sort of release this will get in America, because this is this is a tough watch. This is not an easy watch.
Not an easy watch. Pretty bleak.
Very super bleak.
Yeah. Super, like, odd. Yeah, there's some sort of Irish and British surrealism in there, but there's also a lot of kind of deep Eastern European bleakness and weirdness.
That is, yeah. It has a very cold heart. But I would say yes, go and see it. I would say yes, go and see it if you can see it. See
Yes, go and see it, but beware that there is. You know, it's not a like laugh out loud John C. Reilly comedy. It's not an action movie. It's not a drama. It's not horror.
It's not even in Bruges. Like it's not even.
No,
that
it's
kind
not
of,
in
like,
Bruges. It's not Monty Python-esque. It's not. I mean,
there were Python-esque things in it.
There were some Python,
particularly the waiters. As soon as I saw the waiters, it was just like this guy's a Python fan.
Yeah, definitely. No, there is some of that, but I would say that it gets more out there than that. The closest you get in America is probably something like Tim and Eric, which didn't really make it over here, I don't think, but they're very weird.
Yeah.
Now, the point about this movie, though, is it is weird, but up until about two-thirds of it, the metaphors that it's like playing with about like being single or being a couple, or
They're
whatever,
very good.
very good metaphors, and they hold together.
Yeah, they do.
The only bit where it starts not to is when he goes into the loners camp later on, and it starts to become a whole other movie.
Well, I was with it in the Loners Camp for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, for the first bit, but then
but then later on when it got into when they found out about the relationship he begins to have, then it really span off into all sorts of different places.
Yeah.
But what it does do very well, and I think it would have been very interesting to have seen it. As a sort of my sort of long-term singleton, sort of early 20s self, and seeing what effect it had on me. Probably it would have made me want to shoot myself.
Well, I have to say, as someone who's been single and who's been going through like a lot of weird stuff, like for example,
you have been through both sides of the...
both sides of it, but also there's like in one particular bit where he suddenly out of desperation decides that basically the woman we see at the beginning shooting the donkey was described by both him and other people in the movie as being completely and utterly heartless and feeling nothing. And there was a moment where all other options of eligible women that he can actually put up with kind of fall away, get hitched, or in one case throws herself out of a window in a particularly black, humid thing.
That was really black. And it was quite funny.
It was funny. No, because I think you were in the bathroom when she talked about throwing herself out the window.
No.
Oh, you saw that bit? Okay. So
I was in the bathroom for large shots of this film. But yeah.
But no, so he picks the one without any heart or feeling, like the psychopath essentially. And he has this line in it, which is, it's better to pretend that I feel nothing than pretend I feel everything, or something.
It's easier to
feel something and pretend
easier
nothing than to feel nothing and pretend something.
Yeah.
Which I am, like, that sentence of the last couple of years, that rings 100% true.
Yeah.
Meaning, the hardest thing I've had to do sometimes is when I don't really feel very much because I'm in a kind of slump and I have to kind of pretend everything's all right.
Yeah.
That's worse than maybe feeling something slightly but just pretending nothing's going on.
Yeah. Well, it was full of... The thing that was really, really clever about it was that it beautifully summed up that sort of both sides... that sense you have when you have been alone for a very long time, that people in couples won't be happy until they get you in a couple, and that it's the dating scene's very well. So the hotel is basically the dating scene.
Yeah.
It's utterly empty.
Yeah.
It's utterly forced. It's these useless, meaningless search for like common ground.
I thought the morality plays were very like Love and Death.
Yeah, they-
with the you have got a social disease. If you do not treat it, you will go mad or die, or whatever like that.
The doctor's part was break the votes.
But no, because they did these two morality plays where it was like, when a man eats alone, he's going to choke to death on some meat.
Yeah.
But if he dines with a woman, she'll save him.
Yeah.
And then when a woman walks alone, she's just going to get raped. But if she walks with a man, she'll be fine.
Yeah, but actually that does, that reflects what is, what
It's
people
the
believe,
fears.
what people are told.
No, it's the fears within the
fears,
genders. Yeah, the
and,
different
and
genders.
And the thing about how torturous dating is, how just, it is like torture. It's like this horrible, like you're subjected to it, and they are subjected to it.
Yeah.
And then there's that good thing of there was an amazing scene. One of these scenes that was in it that was really amazing, when there are two girls who are very old friends, and one of the girls who's a very old friend has found a partner, and the other girl hasn't, and it's her last day, and she's going to be changed into an animal. And the girl who isn't going to be changed makes this little speech to her old friend, and it was really, I thought that was a beautiful illustration of that kind of triumphalism that people have, after long term, they've been really close together, and then one of them goes off and can't help but be like,
happy because they've
be in triumph about it.
Right.
Rub the other one's nose in it.
Sure.
Like, they were just these very, very simple things done very well.
Oh wow, this is excellent. Look at that.
Come over here.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Could I also get just a glass of water each as well? Just tap water is fine. Thanks.
Are you fine with sauces? Would you like
No, ketchup's good. Ketchup's good.
Look how many animals I've got.
That's awesome.
I really thought.
Oh, did I? Oh no, it's fine. I didn't see the jug of nice pot. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. It was very clever doing doing those things well. The problem I have with a film like this is it's kind of it's the same overall issue, but I'm coming at it from a slightly different way as Bond, which is it's too long.
Way too long.
It's too long.
Yeah, way too long.
And it would have been, it just would have been a much better film for me if they cut out 40 minutes. Is it Roger Corman who said like most films could stand to lose like a third of their running time?
Yeah.
Like it should just lose it. I mean, there isn't anything clever for me in long, prolonged scenes of not much happening. Some people can carry that off. Some directors can carry that off. But you have to be exceptionally skilled, and it has to really make sense and belong and fit with where the story's going.
Yeah.
And what this did have was an awful lot of very long, ponderous scenes where it's like, well, you're being very quirky, aren't you? But it's not. It got nothing to do with the story. It's got nothing to do with even what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I just felt like. I just really, really felt like it should have been a hell of a lot shorter, like a half an hour, 40 minutes shorter. And it's such a mad criticism to level at something, but why does everyone feel so happy to subject us to 2 hours now?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, because it wasn't just that, but all the meaning and everything completely fell away from me. And while there were some nice scenes towards the end, and while there was a slight sweetness or whatever to some of the things that was going on, and there was also some horror that was going on as well, right? And there was some real psychological horror, especially with what they do to Rachel Weisz's character. That was really abysmal. It didn't add anything. Like it felt like he got 2/3 of the way into a very kind of clever, witty script without being too clever, just clever, witty.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, sticking its thing. And then went, oh shit, where do I go from here? And there was one through line which carries all the way through the movie, and that is this idea, which I don't know if it's a very male idea or whether it's a universal idea, I don't know. But like this idea that whoever you choose as your partner, there must be something kind of inexplicably in common with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most people, even myself included with some of my relationships, would fall for people hard just because they would be like, oh yeah, I really like zombie movies or something, and you'd be like, oh wow, a woman who likes zombie movies. You hardly ever find them, right? So then you would sort of become all enamored, and you would kind of convince yourself that other bits of them were much nicer or better than they maybe were, or whatever. And in this movie, it takes that idea. For example, Ben Whistle's character early on in the movie explains that his ex-wife, who's now dead, also had a limp. He has a limp because he tried to rebond with his mother, who was turned into a wolf and was savaged by some wolves at the zoo, so he has a limp. His ex-wife had a limp, and then in order to like live happily with the girl you were talking about from the movie Hannah, the little Irish lass, she constantly has nosebleeds, and so he has taken to quite horribly smacking his head against tables in order to give himself nosebleeds, because anything to get out of this fucking hotel. Which was a really nice idea about like anything not to be single, you know what I mean? Like that was really nicely explored. But then when you get down to the Rachel Weisz and Colin Farrell stuff at the end, I felt like that kind of didn't quite work. I mean, I know what they were trying to say at the end, but it didn't really work, did it?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I think it would have worked a lot better if it hadn't been such a torturous process getting there. I mean, they took a long time getting there.
Right.
And also, you know, it wasn't, like you say, it's clever, but it's not that clever.
Right.
And I think one of the things that can sort of put my back up about something like this is, like, the biggest trick people can do because this film is an idea film. It's a film about exploring a particular idea and sort of running with it. And those are really, really hard to do because you have to not sort of fall in love with how clever your idea is. You know, do you know what I mean?
Right.
And you can't sort of, because the moment you do that, then you lose people. I thought quite a bad sign about this film was that they were all doing the way they talked.
I was just going to bring this up.
Kind of winding me up.
It was, yeah.
And it nearly worked, but it was so arch, so overdone.
It was one idea too many.
That it was too much. They were doing that too much, and it was like I was thinking, has he actually been stopping them after takes and going, yeah, that was great, but can you make it more halting and more disjointed?
Well, because they were talking basically like one step above simpleton and one step below robot. Do you know what I mean? It was sort of that.
They were talking like this, and Colin Farrell would say something, and then someone would say, yes, I know what you mean. I also like hats. And he'd say, well, I like hats too.
Yeah, like
and
that.
they'd go on like that for a really long time.
Yeah. Also, I didn't think Rachel Weisz was actually very good in it. I thought her voiceover at the beginning was grating, and I thought
her voiceover was grating, but I really like her. I thought she was fine, but the voiceover was grating because it was that bloody voice. It was that, I believe in this, and I did that.
But it sounded like badly read. Like it sounded like someone badly reading something is what it sounded like.
Yeah, you're right, it did. Yeah. But still, as I say...
No, but I mean, that's how I felt about it overall. Individually, like individual scenes and stuff, I found utterly charming and quite delightful in places.
I really like John C. Reilly, like slappy fights with Jon.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I also like Whistler turning around and going, a parrot? You've picked the one animal that can talk and you've got a lisp. You're an idiot. I love that.
And but the thing he did most successfully was talk about how vicious people are made by not so much the relationships themselves as their perception of the relationship.
Yes.
Like, where is this relationship going? What does it mean? What do we have in common? Why are we together?
It was also really odd because there was a lot of, within the hotel, there was a lot of punishment. You know, for example, like John C. Reilly is really rather horribly punished for masturbating, where they bring a toaster to his table and like stick his hand in a toaster and turn it on full and then like hold it there, which was bloody horrible. But then equally, when he went to the loners camp, which are these guys who wear ponchos who hide out in the woods, they have even worse punishments. Like, if you get together with someone, or if you flirt with someone, you have your lips split open with a razor blade, forced to kiss the other person. And then they also have something called the red sex, or the red fornication, or the red something or other, which one assumes is you have your genitals like split open and you're forced to have sex. Like, it's really, gruesome imagery.
And I've got no problem with them referencing that stuff, because it is all about how vicious people are about, they want you to, if you're single, they want you to stay single, they don't want you to change, they don't want you to move on.
Or be happy.
And so that worked in that respect, but again, these bits that work are interspersed with very long, very ponderous bits, and that's it for me. Like, I just think, give it to Roger Corman, this film, and then go, well, he'd just lose all this. He'd have trimmed it down to an hour and 30, and it would have been 10 times better.
Let me ask you a question. In fact, you missed one of them because they went to her parents again, and her parents were playing bazookas and balalaikas and things.
Oh, yeah.
And then they started, because they get to pretend to be a couple when they go into the city. Rachel Weisz and Colin Farrell started making out. That was like the first hint that they were a couple to the woman. But like, what was all the city stuff? I mean, other than showing us, okay, this is what the city is like, which actually it really didn't do very much of.
The city stuff didn't make sense.
What was it for?
It didn't make sense. I didn't know what it was trying to say. That, I mean, it just didn't.
Because they would go to the city, they would pretend to be couples to pick up supplies, and they would go visit her parents and pretend to be like a business foursome on a trip. But then that was sort of it. I didn't really...
If it was supposed to serve as like an illustration that civilization is as strange as the wilderness or whatever, it didn't really work.
No.
Because that didn't come across.
No.
Nothing, like you say, those whole sequences didn't really add much.
What I mean is they didn't really add anything to the metaphor. They added to the plot because you were like, oh, they go in to get supplies.
Yeah.
But I didn't really need to know that they went in to get supplies.
No.
There were some really neat things, though, because there's this idea, obviously, that they're on this planet where people can be turned into animals. And, like, sometimes in the back of scenes, there was, like, peacocks and a camel and a little pony, and there was, like, various other sort of bizarre animals wandering around landscapes they probably shouldn't be in, you know?
I could have used, like, a scintilla of warmth in there somewhere. For instance, like, there was a really nice thing where his brother's been turned into a dog in the past, and he's walking his brother around the place as his dog. Very beautiful border collie. But there was nothing. They didn't. He didn't want to pet the dog or talk to the dog or.
He played with a tennis ball with it very briefly.
Yeah, but I would have been quite interested to see something between him and his brother who was a dog, but there was none of that there, you know.
But there was some bits in it that were absolutely devastatingly horrible.
Yeah, and that's clever in itself because there was no actual flat-out horror in any of it.
No, I mean the worst bit was what she did to the dog.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
But to be fair to the director, you see, apart from the nosebleed bit, you see the aftermath. You don't see it happening. Like you see the woman lying on the floor, having misjudged how far she had to jump to kill herself, with her head sort of bleeding from quite a long shot away.
Yeah.
But you don't see her leap. Like, you don't see her hit the ground and splat and blood and whatever. Similarly, you hear what the heartless woman does to the dog. You see her leg is covered in blood, and then you see a brief shot of it on the bathroom floor. But you don't see her doing it, do you know what I mean?
No.
You saw the toaster bit, and you saw Ben Whishaw smacking his head on a thing, really rather horribly, but...
Yeah. But, you know, The fact is, for all of its faults as overlong, it does make you think about the way we sort of beat ourselves about the head and torture ourselves in order to try and create this thing with someone else.
Right.
And it did it in an interesting way. It was a new way. It was different. I think all of those actors read the scripts and went, "Oh, this is cool. This is really screwed up."
Yeah.
But I think half of those actors, if they were honest with themselves when they watched it back, would have gone, "It's lost its energy. It's lost the energy that I thought it was going to have." You know?
Yeah.
I bet if you were acting in it, you would think this thing's going to be so fucked up in like a really good, like energetic way.
Yeah.
And instead, it's very cold and very ponderous.
Because I really loved Olivia Colman and her husband
That was good.
singing at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was really charming.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting when the singles raided the couple's hotel and proved to the couples like just how not really in love they were. Do you know what I mean? That was pretty bloody bleak.
Yeah.
Because it was like, how much do you love your wife? 14 out of 15. And she was like, oh, so you love her a lot, right? So which one gets to die, you or her? And so he's like, oh, I could live on my own, I could live on my own. So she gives her a handgun to kill Olivia Colman, and he actually fires it, but there's no bullet in it.
Yeah.
And then they leave the room, and you know full well then they have to live the rest of their lives knowing that he would have quite happily shot her in the head and carried on his life.
Yeah.
Which is fucking bleak. But kind of true.
Yeah, I mean,
What, don't you agree so much? Your wife's still knocking about.
we talk about these things all the time. But, yeah, I mean, it's nice to see. I think Farrell's a fascinating guy as well because he can do such utter shash, and he can also be really great. And I thought he was really good at it.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Even handicapped by that stupid form of speech that they were all doing. And that is a directorial thing. You know, the
It is.
director has said to them all, talk in this stupid, halty way, and they've all got on board with it. Maybe it would have worked. I say again, maybe it would have worked if you weren't getting a double bill of that and the slow ponderousness. It was kind of like, I tell you what it was like. It was like a mix between. What it reminds me of, the ponderousness, is the Kubrick film about the dueling and
Barry Lyndon.
In terms of the long shots, very beautiful, but I'm not here to look at lots of very long shots of stuff. I'm here to be entertained, you know.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen True Detective Series 2, but did he put the weight on for that, or did he just put the weight on for this?
I don't know, I haven't seen either True Detective.
Because in this, he's like an out-of-weight, schlubby, naff-head architect, isn't he?
I really liked his tash as well.
Yeah, his tash was awesome. Like, no one was pretty in it, you know what I mean?
No. Well, that was one of the things that bothered me was the girl whose last day it was utterly stunning.
Right. The blonde one.
Yeah. There were a few.
Oh yeah, the leader of the loners was very attractive.
Yeah, Leia from Bond.
Oh, is that from Bond? Is that? Oh, okay.
No, she's in Bond.
Oh, she
Leia
is?
Sadu or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You've seen Bond, haven't you?
What, Spectre?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't recognise her from it.
She's the main. The woman in the Woods, who's the leader of the Resistance, is Bond's main girl.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
They look completely different.
Huh.
Didn't realise that at all.
Yeah,
And I
really?
only saw Spectre like 3 nights ago or whatever.
Well, that says a lot about Spectre, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not even going to talk about Spectre.
Are we not?
I mean, we can if you want, but...
Well, I was just interested to. I mean, Bino, just to wrap it up on the Lobster, I think the fact that you had so many good people involved and all the rest of it shows that there was a very interesting, fun-looking script there, and people thought like this really could be something. And I think it would be quite a different experience stripped down and probably relieved of the voiceover entirely. To be honest with you, it just doesn't need it. Does
No.
it?
I don't really understand it.
No, I don't. But I don't know why it's there. Like it
Because at one-
literally could happen without the voiceover. couldn't it?
Because at one point, the voiceover even painstakingly repeated something we just saw. Like when they were sat in the bus and the Scottish one from Extras, is that Ashley
See,
someone?
I think that's a sign of being pleased with yourself. That sort of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Or it's some kind of thing like, oh, I've seen this before and it stylistically works, so I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
Who's the one from Extras? Is it Ashley someone?
From Extras.
The Scottish one was from Extras, the Ricky Gervais show. The Scottish blonde one who's kept trying to come on to Colin Farrell and saying,
Oh,
you
yeah,
can,
yeah.
you know, I'll give you a blowjob
Yeah.
and fuck me in the ass and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she represented desperation. That was her role.
Yeah. But all in all,
I really like the stuff in the hotel. I really liked the stuff in the hotel. I loved everything Olivia Colman was involved in. So I loved the congratulations to John, he's found himself a mate. They both get nosebleeds and like stuff like that. Like that was. And then she said there was a great line which you did miss, you in the toilet. But she goes. And if the relationship after a while is not working and there are a lot of arguments or heated conversations going on, we'll throw in a child. And that was I really liked. She goes, that seems to help some couples. Which I thought was a really nice
yeah, they
touch.
referenced that later, and that was very dark.
Yeah. Well, although true, you know.
Yeah, but that's why I was disappointed with as you say, the loners bit was. I saw very early on in the film, I went, oh my god, it's Michael Smine. And I love Michael Smine.
Me too.
I love his big nose, I love his voice, I love his mad eyes. I just think he's got the most brilliant face and easy. You know, he's one of those people who just performance is just really easy for. And I saw him really early on, I was like, brilliant, he's going to turn up later. And then he was barely in it. And no, that's nothing against Lea Seydoux, but that was. I guess I'm just saying that to illustrate that it wasn't what I hoped it would be, the loners bit.
And were we meant to indicate that? Do you think it would have held up had they indicated that her and Leah were having something? Sorry, him and Leah were having something on the side in private, and therefore she was also a hypocrite as well as being. Well, or not really. That wouldn't have mattered.
The thing was, I was hoping.
Because he's like her second in command, but he never really does anything.
The thing was, I was sort of hoping that he was going to, basically, that it was all going to get quite sleeper, and that he was going to like join some resistance and all that kind of a thing. But I really thought that's where it was going.
Yeah.
Woody Allen Sleeper, which if you haven't seen, you have to see.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He's in the future and he joins this resistance against a sort of, Orwellian...
The president.
Orwellian force, yeah. I kind of thought it was going to go to him joining the resistance and there being a bit of a story like that, but it never really... Like there was the one little raid on the hotel, but then it went on for another 40 minutes after that. And I kind of expected that to almost be the climax, and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that were a bit... The second half of it definitely lacks what the first half had in charm and comedy. Because the first half is idea, gag, gag. All of which tied together with good metaphors for dating, relationships, coupling, and so on.
Yeah.
The second half turns into something that doesn't really know quite what it is.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be... Well, the second half turns into a love story, basically.
Yeah.
Because you have what happens when two lonely people finally find each other, but none of their friends will let them kind of be together, I guess.
Yeah.
But does that really happen in real life?
Well, I don't know that it does.
Because that's where it didn't work, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. You didn't really recognise that. You recognise people not wanting people to leave their group of single friends, but not wanting them to be happy kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe recognise a bit of that. But like you say, at the beginning there was lots of he never quite knew what was coming next. There were quite a few gags. I liked when he said at the very beginning when he sat down and that woman's taking his details.
Yeah.
And she says, "Are you heterosexual, homosexual?" Heterosexual. Well, I once had a homosexual experience. Can I put down bisexual? She says, "No, you can't be that. We had some problems with that."
Yeah.
Are you going to be hetero or homo? It took a really long time to decide. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was just great. It was just like a little unexpected, like, throwing moment. And it was
Because it was sort of... It was like those sort of bureaucratic questionnaires that you get sometimes when you're doing something official, like, I don't know, opening up a bank account or going to set up your GP for the first time or whatever it is. And you have to answer all these sort of like random fucking questions. And just to kind of make it interesting, you think about some of them, you know what I mean? Like you stop and kind of go, well, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think it was definitely a fine effort that like a lot of these surreal art house type movies do kind of fell a little under its own weight, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's just if you had less confidence. Funnily enough, if he'd have had less confidence in himself, when it came to the editing, then he would never have put out a 2-hour film. Not in a million years. But he thought everything he had was gold.
Yeah. Because what? Oh, yeah, it was great. Thank you. Because what happened in the second half of the film was they're both living in the woods, and Colin Farrell falls in love with Rachel Weisz in a way that is quite like you feel the tension between them. You know what I mean? And actually, it was one of the occasions where I felt the voiceover did help. Was when they were doing those hand signals.
Oh yeah.
And describing, and what you find out is the voiceover is actually a diary she's keeping that is found later on in the movie by the French maid chick, and then taken to Leia, what's her face, and that's how they kind of figure out who it is. But they devise this way of, and it's both like sweet and erotic at the beginning, but then becomes kind of a bit ludicrous by the end, where they're like moving their arms around and waving branches and stuff. But they develop this whole like language to communicate love and sex and affection between them without getting caught, they think. But I actually felt the tension between them, the sexual tension between them, and I suppose that was the sequence when they went into the city and they're sat there and her parents are like playing balalaikas and whatever. And because they have carte blanche to like behave like a couple in front of them, because that's the whole pretense they have to set up when they're in the city, they felt comfortable like touching each other's hands, and then like touching each other's hands came hugging, and then they like the hugging became kissing, and then like they were basically like having this quite sort of erotic make-out session on the couch with Michael Smiley sat there looking kind of awkwardly at them. But before Leia like got up and went, "Stop it, we don't do that, show my parents some respect." Which again was a nice little sequence, but it kind of came too late in the movie, and by which point you were like, look, either get together, like join the resistance, break away, move to the city, like do something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hello, Michael Caine here, sipping a lovely strawberry daiquiri in my own private booth in my favourite nightclub in Milan. And I'm doing that because the After Movie Diner has asked me to say a few words about supporting the show, because they're having a bloody pledge drive, because basically it's coming up the end of the year, and it's time to renew the URL for the website with GoDaddy.com. It's also time to renew some other stuff for the website, such as what's it called? Oh yeah, DistroKid and other things. We've basically got some expenses coming up in order to maintain the internet presence of the After Movie Diner, and so we're asking everybody to bloody well dive into their pockets and give generously to the After Movie Diner. And I got my pal here, Christopher Walken. He is going to be telling you where you can go, which websites you can go to sponsor the After Movie Diner. Go on, Chris, tell him. Oh, this daiquiri is lovely.
Well, hello. So what I want you to do, if you feel so inclined, go to www. We should all know that by now. Been using the internet for 20 years at this point. Let's not pretend we don't know that all websites start mostly with www. Come on, people. It's patreon.com. That's PAT for Romeo. Wow. Pow. Love. EON.com /Aftermovie Diner. Patreon.com /Aftermovie Diner. Give as little as $1 a show or more, whatever you can spare. Come on, $1 every week. You're not going to miss it. Put it towards the diner. If everybody who listened to the show did it, he would be able to get new equipment. He'd be able to fix his motherfucking computer, and he'd be able to renew his website presence. Man, pow, just $1 a week. Give it. Shut the fuck up and do it. It's what we're saying. However, if you don't feel like giving money to the diner, you could always go over to MISC, MISC, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. Buy any of the albums you find there. That would honestly be one of the best ways to give money and get stuff in return. Not just beautiful, beautiful podcast, but, an album, songs on it. You could woo women, dance to the songs, pass them off as your own. We don't care. We just need the money to be able to fix a cockamamie fugazi computer and renew our website details. You can hear my train coming, so I'm going to go, but help us out. Don't be a schmuck. So have a great Thanksgiving and give generously, not just your thanks, but money too. Come on. Money talks. Bullshit. Walking. That's me. Pow.
Loneliness is a hard thing to write about. It's a very hard thing to write about.
Yes.
To make it your subject. I mean, Lonely Guy, the Steve Martin movie, properly only has 3 good jokes in it. I mean, it's not a strong film. It's the bench scenes.
Right.
Want to have a look at the dessert menu, mate?
Oh, no,
I'm
man.
fine.
I have to say, after this milkshake and all that food, I'm good. Thank you.
There are the bench scenes from Lonely Guy which make the film. The rest of it has 2 or 3 good jokes in it. Like the best joke in Lonely Guy is when he goes into the restaurant and the spotlight goes on to the table for one, please, and the spotlight comes in and follows him through.
I quite like him going into his his girlfriend's apartment, and she's in bed with someone else, and he has to take the rubbish out and all that. That's not bad.
That's not bad. I like Charles Grodin being on the bridge.
Yeah.
Him saying, "You have so many reasons to be alive." Name one. Not dying.
Not dying. There's a reason.
He does some of his best Steve Martin scrunging while he's trying to think of something.
But Charles Grodin just saying, my ex-wife came home one day, found some guy robbing our apartment. They just kind of hit it off. I love that. That's one of the greatest lines ever, and he delivers it with such despair.
I think I'm going to take a nap.
I don't like napping. I don't like to wake up twice in one day and realize that my life.
Shock of remembering who I am.
No, Charles Grodin makes that movie.
Yeah. Well, this could have used a bit more of this could have used a Grodin in there somewhere.
Yeah, because the bit where there's a really they kept being nice bits, like when John C. Reilly hunted down Farrell, because Reilly is on his last 3 days in the hotel, and Farrell's there, and Farrell's first tactic is to claim that John C. Reilly is his best friend ever, in the hope that he doesn't shoot him. And then when that doesn't work, takes to just insulting him in the most hilarious fashion, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
before like shooting him and then shooting him with the tranq gun and stripping him naked. And like it kept having nice scenes, but then you're right. Then it kept having
like a 3-minute scene with with quirkiness, like long, prolonged quirkiness scenes, which lose you. They lose you.
They really did. I can't quite put my finger on it because the more I think about it, the more I like keep finding.
Well, that's why I say it's worth watching because there's actually loads of good stuff in it. I think if you'd, the thing is, you must remember you went
digging
in.
your own grave stuff.
That was just that was one of the less successful,
But I mean, that's
kind
an
of
expression.
sledgehammery.
But that's an expression. You dig your own grave.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
was
normally
it was just ramming in the loneliness thing with a sledgehammer. That's all. But bear in mind, you went into the film having absolutely no idea what we were going to watch.
idea.
I booked it because I thought that sounds mad, and it was this or the Vin Diesel, and so I chose this.
Yeah. If this was The Last Witch Hunter, we'd be having a completely different conversation.
Yeah. But you went in not knowing what to expect. I at least went in knowing to expect something very odd.
Yeah.
But I think if you went in prepared for the fact it's a long one, then you might give it a bit more. You might be a bit more courteous.
2 hours. Cleese was right when he said about comedy, and this goes for like surreal black comedy as well, because this is a surreal black comedy, if it's anything at all. Is that you can laugh for about 45 minutes, then you have to like get your composure back, and then you can like laugh for like the last 20 minutes, but you can't laugh for like 2 straight hours. And there wasn't enough like head-scratchingly interesting stuff in here to sustain that either. So all comedy should be a lean 90 minutes. I would go 85 to be honest, but like a lean 90 minutes. And so I do think, while there are lots of nice ideas in this, the length is a major problem. And a lot of those slow motion things, while they were quite funny on occasions, it was like, okay, this is. I don't really understand why this is
It's self-indulgent, isn't it? It's enjoying yourself a bit too much.
Because if you've done right, like Edgar Wright does, where like there's a little snippet in slow motion and then he cranks it up and it speeds up again or whatever. If you've done, or like in the Sherlock Holmes movie when they're running through the woods and like it's fast speed and then it slows down just so you see a bullet hit a tree and split the tree and then it speeds up again and it has more of like a fluidity to it. If he'd done that with them all charging into the woods, there would have been like something to it. Well, but just having it all in slow motion for like 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes in slow motion.
It's like now that you're getting into it, I'm thinking it actually needed more jokes, because that whole scene, I was waiting for an amazing visual gag to come, and it just didn't come.
No.
There just wasn't one.
No.
Like like the equivalent of like Cleese and Chapman running together towards each other, dressed in suits. After he asked me, they're going on a camping trip together. Like two men, like two very tall English gentlemen in Cleese and Chapman, running towards each other, holding flowers in the woods at a campsite.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous slow motion visual gag.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to go there.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. There was no joke.
No.
Instead, it was like 7-8 minutes of slow motion. And you wanted to laugh.
I quite laughed at John C. Reilly going like.
That was
twigs
good.
flying
But that's
around.
him, isn't it? That's
just him being.
That's
fun.
not a joke.
No. There was no gag to it.
No.
In fact, what it actually did was throw me, because I was like, I get it, they're all running into the woods, but why are some of them like falling over and making funny faces? Like I didn't really.
Yeah. No, well, it didn't really make any sense.
Also, I'm sorry. They needed to explain the loners joke just a little better. I mean, like in the early half of the movie, like retroactively you get it because you understand who the loners are in the second half of the movie. But when you first see them, and then there's that prolonged slow motion sequence where they're going into like bag.
Yeah, you're not sure what's going on.
You're not really, and therefore again you're kind of going, well, I know there's a gag here, but is there like?
Yeah.
Like you.
Well,
don't
there wasn't
know.
actually a joke. There wasn't a joke. I mean, I suppose it was supposed to be like Ho-Ho, they're chasing lonely people over, but it was too complex. The whole thing of lonely people from the hotel chasing the sort of fear-old lonely people who are in woods in some location somewhere. Like, you had to put too much together to even figure out where it was.
Right.
And perhaps it would have been a joke if you, like you said, queued it up a bit.
Yeah.
But there was no queuing.
Yeah.
I think it needed more jokes, less running time. I agree with you, hour and a half, absolute maximum.
And if you're going to have a voiceover, at least have the voiceover explain a little about what's going on instead of just repeating what you're looking at.
I like Rachel Weisz. I've always liked her. But she's doing an annoying voice.
Their voiceover was
And
awful.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
And it's a problem because you do sort of go, I can't wait for her to stop talking. Because, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I hope she doesn't talk the whole way through this.
Yeah.
Because it's so mannered and put on.
It was. And it didn't work.
That has nothing to do. Doing a mannered put on voice has nothing to do with loneliness or relationships or anything like that. It's just.
Well, it was initially meant to be awkwardness.
Yeah.
But by the time him and Rachel Weisz are in
an
love,
hour in.
they're not awkward anymore.
Yeah. But also when you're an hour in.
Also, when he's decided to kill his girlfriend and put her in the transformation room and then escape the hotel, that shows guts. That shows I want to change my situation.
Yeah.
And by changing a situation, he should change the way he talks.
Yeah. And also, people can be awkward. Maybe it would have worked a lot better for one of the characters to have spoken in that voice.
Yeah.
And then for everyone else to be awkward in a different way.
Yeah.
Like people are. People aren't awkward in one uniform way.
No.
But maybe if one character had done it, then that could have really worked. Like Wishaw or whatever, that could have really worked.
I tell you what it does. It hampers an actor because a lot of the way a lot of actors work, especially if you're in a scene where all you're doing is the three of you, John C. Reilly, Ben Whishaw and Colin Farrell, are just sat in three mundane hotel chairs having a very average conversation. Well, if you can't do a lot with your body and you can't do a lot with your face, it's your inflection that's the one thing you can kind of perform with. And when you take that away as well, you're like, it doesn't really.
I think it's very. I think the casting is quite interesting because I think Farrell's a fascinating performer because him sort of looking a bit startled, a bit afraid over that tash.
Yeah.
I found a delight.
Yeah.
And he's so capable of being contemptibly awful and really
good. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a film where he joins Al Pacino is teaching him to be a secret agent or something? It's properly bad.
The Recruit.
Is it The Recruit?
Yeah.
That is a bad film.
Yeah.
And he's just annoying in it.
He's awful when he's trying to play. The funny thing about Colin Farrell is he's awful when he's trying to play successful. When he's trying to play I've got a guy who's got it all figured out, I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
But if he's a bum or a schlub
That's true. That is really, really true.
whatever, I'm really interested.
And then you take someone like John C. Reilly, who appears to... Now, don't get me wrong, I like John C. Reilly, but he seems to have become the most hip actor and got these gigs that you just go, how did you get that gig? Reilly, I don't understand. He's in We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yeah.
And...
Life After Beth, the one with the guy with the zombie girlfriend, and
so he does. But he does really screwball, dumb ass stuff.
Well, he did
but
too.
Serious
with Will
directors
Ferrell.
seem to really, really like him.
Well, because up until his couple of movies with Will Ferrell, he was working with Scorsese, and he'd done some other fairly high pro. Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So he'd always been a hip. You know what I mean? It was kind of him and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Smiley gets around into anything that's being filmed in Britain.
I love
Smiley's
Smiley.
cropping up in it.
Well, he's Wheatley's boy, isn't he?
He's Wheatley's
in
boy,
all
and
of Ben
this
Wheatley's
is why I love Ben Wheatley. So half the reason I love Ben Wheatley so much is he gave Smiley a proper career.
Yeah.
Kill List is horribly dark. He's amazing in it.
Yeah, I prefer Kill List to Sightseers or whatever it's called.
Oh, it's a better film than Sightseers.
I thought Sightseers was 50% of a good film. I have not seen A Field in England, have you?
No, I haven't. No. because
Well,
I
that's
think
got Smiley in it as well.
I think
but
it's going to be a
gonna
trial. I think it's going to be
one
like
thing
this,
too far,
only
isn't it?
without jokes.
Yeah.
Entirely without jokes.
There's going to be a lot of people standing around in medieval
It's a Civil
garb.
War acid trip,
Yeah.
which I think would be troublesome.
Yeah. We'll take the bill whenever you're ready, man. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually closed this place out. I'm sorry if we're keeping you, man. Sorry. Thank you.
And then in terms of the other cast, there wasn't anyone in it who annoyed me or really lost me. They were all doing a pretty good job. And I'm not a massive Wishaw fan because of him in Bond.
Okay, so the conversation on The Lobster has finally wound down, and in fact the conversation now turns to the latest James Bond movie, Spectre, and because we had both seen it recently, John and I do spoil vast chunks of it, so if you haven't seen Spectre, turn off the podcast now, and I do hope you enjoyed that conversation all about The Lobster. If you have seen Spectre, hang around for about the next 10 minutes and enjoy this.
Because I do not like his cue. I mean, I really properly don't like his cue.
No. Although I really like Ray Fiennes as M. Well, in the latest one, Spectre.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I would have liked Ray Fiennes with M if they'd have given him an M16.
Yes, and he'd gone round and
go action,
shot people.
Fine.
Yeah.
I thought,
What was it with
totally
Mendes,
thought that was
blowing all the action in Spectre? Like, every time you think, just when he escapes, the big evil lair at the end, when you think there's going to be, a cool shootout, maybe some ninjas, it just blew up. I was like, fuck you, Mendes, with your hipster scarf
I'm glad you agree on that.
Horseshittery.
As soon as he...
we just split it.
Yeah, as soon as he cropped up, as soon as Fiennes was towards the end, Fiennes is rolled out of the car and he's out on his own.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, get a gun and shoot some people. Ray Fiennes, wearing a big overcoat and being a bit old.
Yes.
I will forgive you then for representing a sort of British government figure that hasn't existed for about 50 years. I will forgive all that if you pick up an M16 and shoot some people. But he didn't. And it was all...
Well, he talked him to death, didn't he?
Yeah, but he
sat
also...
in a chair and was very arch about it.
Yeah, and does that thing... I think you're really right. I think he did blow the action consistently throughout that.
Yeah, the only good
I
action...
thought the helicopter thing was boring.
Yeah, it was awful. The only good action sequence in the... Oh, no, wait a minute. You mean at the beginning in Mexico? That was okay. Yeah, but the plane thing was boring with the thing. Why did he get in a plane? What was that? Why didn't he ski down the mountain? Why not ski down the mountain and leap on the top of the...
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
It was almost like they went, well, we're going to have a sequence where he's in a plane, yeah? Why?
Well,
The car chase was awful.
The car chase was bad.
The car chase was awful. The plane sequence was awful. The fight on the train...
The car chase.
The fight on the train, which was the only good action sequence in the whole movie, is stolen almost wholesale from Russia with Love. Only this time he's 3 times the size of Red Grant and is a Dave Bautista guy. Although I did quite like that fight, and I did quite like him wearing Connery's tux. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, well, there were things throughout which I genuinely liked. But
there was also all that bullshit about, I don't need to teach you anything, do I? And yet she still became a damsel in distress. It's like, no, you can't set her up as a kick-ass chick and then go, but Bond still has to save every fucking second.
That's true actually, because she hit the guy on the train. She hit the guy once, so the head, and he punched her, and she was out.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, she shot him later.
Yeah, we just had that whole fucking sequence where Bob was like, I don't have to teach you anything.
And the thing is, I don't mind her having to go down for a bit and then turn up later and shoot, but she should have at least landed some blows.
By the end of the movie, right? By the end of the movie, we're meant to believe she's the woman Bond wants to walk away from, and we've had no evidence of that whatsoever. We had one sequence on a train which was horribly reminiscent of the sequence in Casino Royale where they're ho-ho psycho-evaluating each other, which was awful and repetitive that we've seen before. And then by the end of it, I meant to believe that Craig, who by the way was finally actually playing Bond in this, which actually did make me happy. He's finally being Bond.
What do you mean by that? How was he playing?
Meaning that he was finally being a bit more ruthless, but also having a bit of fun with the role. He was doing a little bit of both, which I
Yeah,
actually
that's what I
liked.
thought. I agree with you.
Until the ending, when he like sashays across the bridge and gaily flings his gun over the thing, and I'm like, that was awful. The ending bothered me so much, to no end, because it was literally like, wait a minute, we've got Christoph Waltz in it, we've done, 2 scenes with him, and then he's going to kill him on the bridge. Okay, don't kill him, that sets up a sequel, and have Bond walk off with the woman.
I thought...
Because what it was meant to say was, all the way through, Christoph Waltz keeps going, I have hurt you, I've killed everyone you know, yeah? And you are nothing now, and you're a dead man. And then at the end, Bond is meant to go, you don't own me, you don't control me, I'm going to wander off and be happy, and you're going to be taken away in shackles. Like, that's what the end means. That's what the whole end means, is it's Bond going, instead of killing you, I'm going to do even worse than that, and I'm going to be happy. Oh, fuck off. That's not James Bond, Sam Mendes, you cock.
No. But that's because that's him and Dan Craig got together and said, we're not going to do another one, let's do something that's an ending for us.
Yeah.
Which is unforgivable.
Yeah.
It's not an ending for you, it's a Bond film. Mind you, this is the film more that, that really did it for me more than any in a long time, made me think Bond is done. Bond is done.
Yeah.
I mean...
If this was the last one, I wouldn't be sad.
In Sean Connery's time, the whole idea of this, British influence in the world, of London as this, worldly important capital, all this stuff, is out of date then. And now, when they're so desperate for... it becomes properly chocolate box in terms of, you've got Big Ben, you've got the 1960s car, because we don't actually make our own cars anymore.
Yeah.
Like the new posh cars that drive about, they're all built in India or Germany or whatever it is.
Right.
You never see... we'll bugger off to Mexico City and film some stuff there. You never see, like, Notting Hill Carnival or any other normal part of London. London's an interesting city, but it's chocolate box because it's clinging to a thing that was dated, like, properly 30 years ago. I mean, maybe not the 60s, but from 1980 onwards, this stuff was really for the birds, Bond. And it got away with it with a couple of little interesting tweaks here and there after that, with, like, License to Kill. It's now become any other film. The supervillains don't even have plans anymore.
No.
I mean, Waltz was just a guy who had a big thing in the desert, and why did he have to be related to Bond? I mean, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Do you know the last one that actually had a plan? The last one that's actually a good movie is Quantum of Solace. That's the only movie that Craig has made it's the shortest movie he's made, and it's the only one that has an actual plot that rings true now, which is Quantum was a shadowy cabal of corporate entities that were buying up natural resources, which is exactly what is happening in the world today, is that our natural resources are being squandered and wasted by corporate entities.
Yeah.
Because someone in the Bond camp decided very, very early on, we're not going to have Bond go up against Middle Eastern terrorism. We're just not going to do it, right? So the two there's not another Cold War going on, right? There's no other front he can fight on. In reality, he would be in fucking Afghanistan or Iran or somewhere like that, actually doing spying. But they entirely ignore the Middle East in all the Daniel Craig movies, every single one of them. So if you're going to do that, they set up in Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace the idea of quantum, which makes, by the way, Spectre completely superfluous. But they set up the idea of quantum as this shadowy cabal of people who are corporately running the world and forming these massive monopolies that are basically either controlling and or toppling governments, which is actually what's going on and is actually interesting. So if you're not going to have them fight terrorists, you have them fight corporate entities. But what they do is they completely and utterly threw that away in Skyfall, and then in Spectre try and tie it up in a whole new bow, but then also go, well, let's make it Spectre. Why?
Yeah.
Well, Quantum of Solace wasn't that light.
Do you know what the weirdest moment of the entire film for me was? Christoph Waltz was walking in his big thing, in his big crater base. And he says, and Bond says, what is this place? And he goes, information. And the moment he said that, the villain who sprung to mind was Jonathan Pryce
Right,
in
yeah,
the worst
Tomorrow Never
Bond
Dies.
film,
That's
one
not
of the
the worst
one of the 2 or 3 worst Bond films ever.
I actually quite like that one.
I can't stand that one because of
Oh no, Jonathan Pryce
He
was
was
awful in it.
So
No, he's
such a
awful in
letdown
it.
in that
Yeah,
film.
he was. Yeah,
But
it's a good idea.
But that's what
it's a good
made
idea.
it was
Rupert Murdoch is a good idea.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
But he was. That's what it made me think of Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Pryce had a plan. Jonathan Pryce was going to do something.
Yeah.
Start a war for the story. You know, it's a bit, throwaway, but it's
a bit on
Bond.
the nose.
It's a Bond.
Yeah. Christopher
He
Waltz
had
has no plan. No.
he wasn't doing anything.
No.
What was he even doing?
In fact, his whole plan was to tease Bond. That was his whole plan.
I will tease you, James
I will
Bond.
ruin
I
your
will
life.
tease you so much.
I have killed Vesper Lynn and I have killed M. Well, no, you didn't.
You will have such a headache when you're through with me, James Bond.
Yeah. Also, I'm sorry. In Skyfall, what's his name's character, the effeminate Sanchez? What was his name?
I don't know.
Who played him again?
So I don't remember most of Skyfall. I genuinely don't.
He was pretty bad in it, but he's that Spanish actor. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem, right. At no point in Spectre do they explain just how Christoph Waltz set up Javier Bardem. Now, hang on a sec. Mr. White, yeah, because he was part of Quantum. Green, because he was part of Quantum. And Le Chiffre, I can all buy because they're all part of Quantum. And basically in this movie, they overwrite Quantum and go back to Spectre for reasons known only to fucking Mendes. And I presume because they thought that Quantum...
He's sneery about Quantum, that's why.
Well, because people didn't like Quantum of Solace. It was the least successful of the Craig movies because it was actually a good film. And also because the one thing Mendes does love to do... Mendes loves to do 2 things, right? Based on Skyfall and Spectre, right? He loves to nod to his favourite things about old Bond. So in other words, the tuxedo, the fight from Russia with Love, the big bass in the desert. Sorry, no, not the big bass in the desert. The word Spectre, the Aston Martin, all that stuff from the Sean Connery Bonds, right? Mainly from Russia with Love. Like that's really what Mendes likes is that one movie, because everything in his Bond movies are from that movie. However, the other thing he likes to do, which is incredibly hipster and annoying of him, is to take the things that everyone else likes from Goldfinger, which is like the women, the gadgets, the evil villains, the mad henchmen, all the stuff we used to love about Bond. He likes to take that and then dispose of it quickly, right? So in this movie you have the thing that you think is going to be the big end set piece with the villain's lair, blow it up in a second. Q never gives him any fucking gadgets, and even in the car in this sequence, with the car does have gadgets, none of the gadgets work except the ejector seat. You know what I mean? Mendes keeps going, well, no, we're going to make Bond modern and serious. No. The one thing we don't want is modern and serious Bond because it's tedious and all.
Yeah.
Anyway, should go. This poor guy is trying to close up. But look, thank you ever so much, sir, for being this week's guest of the After Movie Diner. A pleasure to be talking to you again.
Absolute pleasure to be here, my friend, and good to see you back in Blighty.
Yes, indeed.